Hey there, good people. Brian here. Uh-oh, that washing machine doesn't sound too good. I wonder if there's anything we can do to help. Well, let's get down to work. What was that? Oh, good question. Yeah, I really don't know a whole lot about washing machines. Do you? No? Well, let's see then. What are we going to need to be able to fix this? Well, we'll need the manual, probably some tools as well. Okay, so let's see here. Say, do you know what this one does? Or what about this one? Yikes! That sounded worse. Okay, we may not be as much help as we think. Well, thanks for trying to help. And along with the question, hey Brian, why are you talking about washing machines? The other questions we'll answer today are, why do we need to adjust our thinking in order to think like a historian? What does it mean to think like a historian? And why do we need a toolbox of skills to study history? What are these skills? So why the washing machine? Well, chances are most of us have used one, seen one, or at least know the basic principle of what they do, right? However, if we need to try and fix it, that takes quite a bit more thought, time, tools, and training to actually make it work. So, while we know what a washing machine is, most of us have no idea about their inner workings or what they do. That, my friends, is just like history. History is something that most of us interact with every day. From the local history of where we live to the history of the country we live in, from street signs to our own names, most everything carries some sort of historical connotation, right? But how often do we actually think about it? In fact, pause the video here briefly and make a short list of things in your house, neighborhood, or even city that have a historical connection. What'd you come up with? And looking at that list, how many of those items do you really understand deeply, from where they came from to what they meant then to what they mean now? Almost everything in your town has some sort of historical context, whether minor or major. There's a reason why things in your town are the way that they are. So, I hear you asking, why is this important? Well, imagine that you've been dropped into a neighborhood thousands of miles away from you. Nothing looks familiar and you're totally lost. You see someone walking towards you. Pause the video here and write down a couple of questions that you might ask this person to help you get your bearings. What questions did you come up with? Where am I is probably a really important one, right? Names of places, streets, maybe where to catch a bus or a train, find food, or how to get home are also pretty relevant. Each question you ask helps you to gain a little more clarity about your unfamiliar surroundings, giving you a more complete picture of an unfamiliar place, adding meaning for you as a person. This context about places and what they mean to people is absolutely essential for a historian to know. For nearly 2,000 years, different groups of people have been fighting over a city in a desert with very little geographic significance. Hundreds of thousands of people have died attempting to possess this seemingly worthless piece of land. Why? Well, what if I told you that these buildings, all in this city, represent among the holiest of places for 3 separate religions? Yes, this is Jerusalem, site of sacred spaces for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. When you're armed with this new information, the motivations and ridiculous loss of life take on a meaning which otherwise would be lost. While we interact with many historical ideas and names every day, we don't often think much about them. As historians, we just can't afford to dismiss what we don't know anymore. History isn't a puzzle to be solved. There are simply too many pieces, some of which are admittedly missing. But a historian's job is to never stop looking for those pieces and allowing for new evidence to take us in directions that we've never thought before. Adjust your thinking with that flexibility in mind, and the exciting discoveries that you'll make will never stop. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. If you're anything like me, you probably memorized this saying way back when you were a kid, right? So here's a big question for you. What does it actually mean? Pause the video here and jot down an answer in your PDF. Most likely, you had a long list of the effects of Columbus' voyages to the Americas, but take a closer look and tell me how many of them actually came from that phrase. Here's what we can take. There was a guy named Columbus. He had a boat. About 700 years ago, he sailed on some pretty water. And that's it. Everything else that you wrote down came from your prior knowledge. Additionally, some of what you wrote may also have been your own perspective. In fact, pause here, look through your list, and see if you can identify your own ideas and beliefs among your answers. As historians, we have to always be mindful of our own perspectives and biases. The person who wrote that phrase may have only wanted to communicate that Columbus took a boat trip, but what we know about the global impact of his voyages colors everything about that phrase, doesn't it? History is about cause and effect, and what we need in order to study it is to know that we have our own ideas which may not allow us to see a full picture. History is, well, big. Like, really big. If we think about history as broad as we can for our purposes, we're talking about the lives and impacts of about 110 billion modern humans over the last 200,000 years. How could we possibly work with something that large? Well, just as with our tools needed for the washing machine, we need tools to make sense of something that we don't understand. But unlike our failure to fix the machine, we need to understand how they work so that we can make sense of all that time and all those people. So what are they? Well, believe it or not, you've already used a couple of them. Accessing sources of history. When you created a list of historical ideas in your community, you pulled from different historical sources, which is exactly what historians do. Perhaps you named a library or a school near you that holds a name important to the city's history. Just like our Jerusalem example, we started with a somewhat worthless city in the desert and ended up with an area held sacred by billions. Understanding perspective and bias. You identified your own perspective and perhaps your own bias when you studied the meanings that you generated from the Columbus quote. You are well on your way. Over our next few lessons, we'll get you started on your own toolbox of skills. And until next time, remember that history is everywhere.